Have you ever heard of the phrase, the Jews of the East? It's not a religious reference, but a comparison. It's a name that's been used, sometimes controversially, to describe one of the most influential, yet often overlooked communities in Southeast Asia, the Chinese diaspora. So, why this comparison? Because like the Jewish diaspora in the West, the Chinese diaspora in Southeast Asia has long been known for its deep-rooted traditions, tight-knit networks, resilience in the face of discrimination, and most of all, its astonishing economic success. In countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines, Vietnam, and Singapore, ethnic Chinese make up a small percentage of the population, but often hold a disproportionately large share of the economic power. Let's dig into this. The story begins centuries ago. Long before modern nation-states existed in Southeast Asia, Chinese merchants were already traveling across the South China Sea. Some came for trade, others to escape famine or political instability. And many stayed. They married local women, built communities, and brought with them not only goods, but ideas, values, and culture. Over generations, they became known as the Peranakan in Indonesia and Malaysia, the Sino-Thai in Thailand, and the Hoa in Vietnam. Some assimilated more than others. Some retained their language and traditions, while others blended deeply into local cultures. But across the region, one thing was consistent. They became masters of commerce. From small family-run shops to powerful business conglomerates, Chinese entrepreneurs left their mark. In the 20th century, their influence only grew. Even amid colonial rule, wars, and political unrest, Chinese communities adapted. They built educational institutions, financial networks, and mutual aid societies. They survived waves of anti-Chinese sentiment, pogroms, and even forced assimilation. And yet, again and again, they rose back up. Resilient, resourceful, relentless. Let's take Indonesia, for example. Ethnic Chinese make up less than 5% of the population. Yet, estimates suggest they control over 70% of the private economy. In Thailand, some of the country's richest families, the ones behind major banks, media empires, and retail chains, are of Chinese descent. In the Philippines, many of the country's largest conglomerates have Chinese roots. And in Singapore, the Chinese are the majority, but what's remarkable is how they've transformed a small island into a global financial hub, while maintaining strong cultural ties to both East and Southeast Asia. But it hasn't always been a smooth journey. There have been riots, discrimination, and political scapegoating, policies of assimilation, even violence, like the anti-Chinese riots in Indonesia in 1998. But even in these darkest moments, the Chinese diaspora has shown a remarkable ability to bounce back. What explains their success? Scholars point to several factors: a strong work ethic rooted in Confucian values, a focus on education, intergenerational family businesses, and perhaps most importantly, a deep belief in the power of networks. Trust, loyalty, and reputation are key. Business is rarely just business. It's personal, it's communal, and it's built to last. But with influence comes tension. In many countries, Chinese communities are still seen as outsiders. Despite centuries of living in Southeast Asia, they're sometimes accused of not fully integrating. They're admired and resented, emulated and targeted. So, are they truly the Jews of the East? Well, the label simplifies a much more complex story. It romanticizes, and sometimes stereotypes, a diverse group of people with different languages, religions, and histories. But it also highlights a shared pattern: the story of a diaspora, navigating identity, power, and survival in foreign lands. A story of triumph, but also of struggle. In the end, the Chinese diaspora of Southeast Asia isn't just an economic story. It's a human story, of migration and memory, of exclusion and excellence, of identity, constantly reshaped by history and circumstance. If you found this story eye-opening, imagine how many more are waiting to be told. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next deep dive. History isn't just in books, it's in the faces, the streets, and the legacies of the people around us. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.